legal framework also acting, or does it need any changes to use the seawater or river water, or how can it be really done?
Would the solution require two sets of water infrastructure, one for drinking water and one for, let's call it, grey water to use for, for watering plants and stuff like that? I'm just wondering, would that require you to have separate water infrastructures in place, or is that how this is envisaged?
With the rainwater, it's much simpler, because then you can just collect the water, but it's not such a stable solution. It doesn't rain every day, but the seawater or the river water, it's always there.
One question of your organization: is the Port of Tallinn all city-owned company, or is it a
No,
private company?
we are listed on stock exchange,
Okay.
and our main shareholder is the state of Estonia.
Okay. As a background knowledge,
Yes.
to researchers.
Also, how important, or how are the seawater heating and cooling systems functioning? Are there any problems regarding that you need to be solved or investigated?
Regarding seawater heating and cooling, it's working quite well. Of course, there are problems in the way, but we are managing everything well, and we are scaling it up also for the future. So that's hopefully
Basically two very different topics, heating and cooling, and then using water.
They are, but yeah, seawater, for example, could be used for several reasons. We think, or that's the idea or the challenge we would like to just put out.
Okay, thank you. Kyllä takes some activities around this, and then we continue with also with water. Some kind of water management topic is the next one, monitoring of bathing water quality, and the challenge will be presented by a person from Ireland.
Yeah, that'll be me. And let me just share a presentation with you.
So in 3 minutes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Why can I not get at this slideshow from beginning? Can you see that? Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to talk about the the fact that we have two challenges in with you from either side of the city. But myself and Boris and Amber are in Laoghaire, and Aisling and Eamon are in Balbriggan. We work collaboratively across the Dublin region, so we're presenting from Dublin. The first challenge I'd like to talk about is bathing water quality. So from April to October every year, the local authorities in Ireland have the responsibility to go on a weekly basis, sample the water and send it to a lab. And we need to be able to tell the bathers if the water quality is good enough to swim. This takes 3 days. And the challenge for us is to automate this and to turn this process around much quicker, because by the time we tell people that the water quality is poor, maybe people have already gotten sick. We have defined areas and times when we do water quality sampling, and we have like Tallinn, we have a lot of urban beaches. So we've been looking at this challenge for a number of years. So there are some ideas that we have, but we're hoping that the research community may have moved on since we started looking at this originally in 2018. In 2018, we looked at the idea of looking at proxies, things in the environment that could tell us that perhaps the water quality was good or bad without having to wait 3 days for a lab test. Things like the level of oxygen in the water, water discoloration that we might see from satellite maps, algae blooms that we might become aware of. These kind of things could be a proxy for bathing water quality. Ultimately, we'd like real-time results, the kind of tech that has been talked about in some of the third-level institutions in Ireland includes things like a lab on a chip. So maybe you could deploy a chip onto a buoy, put it in the bay, and it does the testing, and you somehow collect the data on an ongoing basis. We're really keen that the outputs of this challenge would be made freely available to the research community as open data with API access, and we're really keen to learn more about bathing water quality, since Dublin Bay is a UNESCO biosphere. So that kind of in a nutshell is the challenge around bathing water quality. It's a challenge for both sides of the city, and yeah, if Eamon or Aisling would like to talk about the Balbriggan side, but it's certainly a challenge for all of Dublin, not just for Dún Laoghaire, but for the city and for the wider county. Any solution that we could come up with here is applicable right across Ireland and right across every beach all over Europe. I think there's a huge potential here. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you, Ronan. There is already one comment from Victoria. You have your hand raised.
Yes, I have my hand raised, and it's related, meaning that, as you said, I think this water quality is very crucial for all Baltic Sea region, not only for Ireland, because we are around the Baltic Sea. And there is quite a big amount also of grey water dumped into the sea. So we face these water quality issues as well. But the question is probably that then these lab tests are not the way to go, as you mentioned, because you can speed them up. I mean, you have to still there is a time needed to make a check. So probably you are looking for some other completely different solution.
If we could get a completely different solution that was faster, that would be great. But it's mandated to us from central government. There's a statutory instrument that describes exactly how we sample the water and exactly what bacteria we test for. My understanding is that research is pretty advanced on being able to automate some, but perhaps not all of that testing. When we looked at this challenge a few years ago, we were keen on the idea of a lab on a chip solution, but at that stage, the technology wasn't mature enough. And when we looked into it further, while the lab on a chip or the testing regime may be possible to deploy on a buoy in the bay, there's still a challenge around data collection. We found that the most expensive part of the testing would be getting a crew of people into a boat that goes out to visit the buoy where the lab on a chip is installed, and that needs to be done on an ongoing basis. So there's an element of this that is around data collection as well. But we do have some solutions in mind around that as well.
There's one question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think we have to continue. And one comment to this challenge is that for the next steps to get forward with, we need some Estonian city here also to be involved to this challenge. So that is something which is needed to get forward. But there will be, the cities can still vote during this October. Was it so, Gylle?
Yes.
So,
I would
remember this when preparing this forward.
I would really ask for Estonian cities to get on board with this, because as Victoria has pointed out, this is a common challenge for all urban cities with beaches. And if we solve it for one, we're putting some great sayings out there. And like I emphasize, it's not the whole body of water that's tested. That we're talking about particular locations, particular times, and a testing regime that is set out in law. And if we can have a parallel testing regime, that that does that data validation for us, then we'd be onto a winner. So please come on board with the Dublin challenge.
Thank you,
Estonia.
because your picture about the street and the beach and the street and the city structure, so it brings to our minds many cities in Europe. So it is a relevant issue, but let's see how it goes on.
I will note some of the cities
Okay,
next to see that they.
So thank you, Ireland. Then we go to the next challenge, which is proposed by Ülemiste City.
Yes.
Is it so you are going to make the presentation?
Yeah,
So
sure.
please
Not
go
me.
on.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Can you hear the voice? If you-
Say something.
I hope they can.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So the title of the challenge is Green City, Community Inclusive Brownfield Urban Transformation by Sustainable Innovations. We in Ülemiste City, we are actually located right next to the airport of Tallinn, and it's roughly 30 hectares of land, and it has been developed quite rapidly since 2005 until now. We have already 16,000 inhabitants there, and it's actually historically it's a whole factory area where now we are developing a new business district, and we also try to integrate there more living areas or new buildings. And the challenge for us is to first of all to redesign the old buildings and to demolish them for in a let's say environmentally friendly way, and also for the new buildings we for us it's really important that we keep the CO2 carbon emissions low, and we try to involve more CLT materials, for example, for the constructions. So we wish to use less concrete in the future and more wooden structures, but I know it's a really big challenge in terms of the fire safety. So this is one thing. Then also since we own all the buildings there in the city, then for us it's also very important that to optimize the energy consumption. That for example, now we have Utilitas who are providing us district cooling and heating, and this is a really like a green way to heat and cool our buildings. But we what should I say? So we try to be really innovative, and we try to look in the future. And since we are a small part of Tallinn, then I think it's a really good way to try everything new that's on the market, or we try to be the ones who are taking a step ahead. So, for example, Tallinn can also join our challenges. Yes, one issue that we have there is also that there's not so much green areas, and we try to implement more green corridors, and in order to connect different buildings, and so people don't have to walk between car parking, but they can really walk in the greenery, and so we try to create a more green area. Yes, I think that's more or less it.
Yeah, thank you. How many inhabitants do you already have there?
We have roughly 16,000.
16,000 already,
Yes.
and the goal is somewhere. How many people there?
Actually, the prediction is that by 2050 we have roughly 45,000.
Okay, so it's quite a huge.
It is going quite
It's an
rapidly.
interesting development project, I must say. You have the word inclusive there, so that's why I'm asking about the residents. That you already have some connection with the residents?
Yeah, we do. We have our first apartment building there where we rent out the apartments. There's also school buildings where we have children, kindergartens.
Okay.
So it's actually getting more mixed, which is really important for us,
Okay.
because we try to have it more 24/7 rather than 8 to 5. So this is one of the biggest
So
challenges.
it's becoming a community.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So there are topics like redesigning and CO2 and energy consumption, this like green area development. So this kind of, how do our researchers feel about this? There were several people from construction side.
You already have a company in Ülemiste City working on energy optimization.
Yeah,
They solved this issue for you.
They have started with it.
Uh-huh.
I think they are just in the beginning, and I don't know. Maybe there's more ways to do it. Maybe there's different ways to do it. We don't. I mean, we'd like to just keep open eyes and maybe there's more ways. I personally, I've not been in contact with them. We have different person for that, so maybe I can get more information from him. But yeah.
How about then this redesigning and this, I mean, architecture and cultural heritage of the industrial architecture? Do you have some connection to that side?
Yeah, I actually heard many problems that he mentioned, so that could be one or the other way related to us, but because you mentioned so many, now the question is which one?
It's really broad, I know.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of work now related to or working on digitalization of these processes, but also understanding what are the future competencies of architects, engineers, and construction managers in terms of delivering, planning, designing, and delivering those green, sustainable buildings. So maybe you mentioned the old buildings. You don't have that many old buildings anymore there, but
we still do actually. But some of them, let's say, the ones that are more valuable, then some parts of them we try to keep, for example, outer walls or so just to integrate the new architecture with the old one. I think with some examples, they are quite nice actually from buildings that are from the beginning of 20th century. And so we integrate this with the new architecture, and I think the solution is quite nice.
Do you have some kind of network with other similar developments? Because we know that this kind of old industrial areas, for example, in Tampere in Finland comes to my mind, or somewhere in half a city, we have a lot of, and this kind of, you have an active network considering this kind of
I wish we would.
Okay.
Until now we don't. We have visited quite many different areas that are in similar background, but until now we don't have any partners.
Okay, then one question about the info, how the digital, I mean, the information based planning. What kind of, you are working with these issues, I guess. So what kind of, I mean, platform do you have for your?
That was my question. The next question to you is, you already have nowadays they call it a city engine, which is basically a platform connecting the different data sources to a common platform where you can handle and oversee all the data that you have related to the environment.
Yes, we are developing it at the moment. We are just in the beginning because we're trying to collect all the data from different buildings.
Yeah, exactly.
We have I don't know, 40.
Did you do it in-house?
We do it in-house. 2 people who are working on it, but gathering the data is the biggest challenge, I would say.
Yeah, because that is one direction which might be interesting from researcher side. What do we have there, Victoria? We have a comment from you, please.
Yeah, I have also a question. Are you interested only in redesigning the buildings, or is this urban analytics? Where to place what, or what's the total footprint of all the houses, or where the inefficiencies are? Is this planning, district planning level interesting for you as well?
Yeah, definitely. Every day we are working on that district planning level as well, and just actually last week we received the first CO2 calculation for the newest building in our campus, and our aim is to have calculations on all the buildings in the district, so we know all the footprints that we have in our campus. So it's definitely something that we would look into.
I have also a question.
Yes, please.
Do you have any issues due to the proximity to the airport? In the Ülemiste City.
Thing, the smell of the gas. So when they start the engines, then and when there's the wind from the right direction, then you can really feel it.
And I can assume also the air quality then.
Yes,
is a bit affected.
It is.
And how about the sound, the noise pollution?
The sound. It's not like living beside a big street.
Yes.
It's really like a party noise that you have maybe for some minutes. But for example, I work on the building just next to the airport, and when you walk indoors, then there's no issues at all, I would say. But if you're outdoors and just having your lunch on a bench, then I would say then at some points it's maybe a bit annoying. But I don't see this as an issue. I would rather say that the smell is the
I understand.
zoning issue. Yeah.
What kind of regulations do you have about this noise in urban environment? For example,
We have regulations regarding kindergartens.
Okay.
There we have to have this sound barrier walls. But regarding the public space, actually, I don't know if there is.
Yes, there are.
There are?
There are.
Okay.
Yeah, there are. That's regulated too. Yeah.
Okay, but at least the city hasn't
Say to you.
told us that we have to now build a Chinese wall between the.
around Ülemiste City. Okay, yeah, but all in all, I think this Ülemiste offers quite many different kind of
There is quite
approaches, and so
broad.
you are open to
We are.
different developments, and so
Wondered whether
Yeah,
there are
please.
any cities actually involved in your, or interested in your challenge as well, more than any more.
yeah, there are cities. Are there online people from? Was there somebody from Colombia? No.
I guess there wasn't, yeah, it's nine of them, but they will join probably there.
And then from Belgium,
Uh,
Leuven.
I guess Tim is here, but I guess he's at the moment in one other workshop.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then from Latvia is Talsi and Valmiera.
So we again like miss an Estonian city
Yes,
here.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
we miss an Estonian
Yeah.
city to partner up again here
Yeah.
to be one of the. So let's hope that there will be one Estonian city also joining this one.
Yeah.
Victoria, you already told, or you have still hands up for something new? It's the old hand. Okay.
Okay. So thank you. So the point is also to find the
Sorry,
Estonia
actually,
city. Yeah.
I have to run to the other room.
Yeah,
We have
please
another
do. Yeah.
presentation there.
Yeah, no, thank you
Yes.
for your presentation.
Mhm.
And then we go to the next topic, which is urban sensing, mobile node network. Who is
I
going?
guess it's Ronan again, yeah?
It's running again. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay, okay.
Let me again share my screen, and yeah,
That was one of the most popular.
Yeah, in top
Popular.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. thank you.
the urban sensing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, sorry, just 1 second. Slideshow from current slide. Okay, so urban sensing mobile node network. You can hear me and you can see the slides, yeah?
Yes.
So the problem is that we are carrying out various smart city projects, and in reality, we don't have enough data on what's going on within the city. So the idea here, in a nutshell, is to work with vehicle companies and bus companies to get sensors onto vehicles that travel the streets, that use computer vision, that build up a map of the city, and that platform is something that we can add further sensing technology on top of. This will allow us to do section analysis of any part of the city road network that is covered, and it provides really useful, actionable data for local authorities running cities. It would give us full coverage. It would be privacy friendly. It would be GDPR compliant. So there's a potential to, and the opportunity. We have vehicles that are traveling the streets, people that are vehicle companies that are already interested in working with us on this. The Dublin City public bus company, Dublin Bus, are interested to work with us on this. Volvo, Land Rover, and there's a lot of potential use cases for the data that would be generated here. For example, we have a project going where we do sensing in accessible parking, and we push that information out to people who have mobility issues, so that they know if they're a wheelchair user, here's where you can park your car. But if we had vehicles traveling the streets with computer vision, we could provide live data on parking and live data on tree coverage, on the amount of pedestrians. There's a massive amount of potential here, and again, we would see the data being generated would be open data, and it would be available via API to the research and citizen science community. So yeah, I mean, like primarily we're talking about computer vision, but we could add sensors for air quality, for noise, and new sensing technology as it arrives. So essentially what we're talking about is the vehicle that is already traveling the street becomes a mobile sensing node within the network. Thank you. I'll take
Okay,
questions.
thank you, Ronan. Yes, is there someone from Narva here? Because Narva has been from Estonia interested in this.
I saw. No,
She's from Võru.
she's from Võru. Yeah, Peter was here, but I guess he's in some other workshop.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay.
he's there. Yeah.
So it would be nice to hear also if there are some other cities who because it has been voted quite high, this proposal. So how do we have some comments from cities and then we go to researchers' side? No one at the moment. So how about our researchers?
Hello, Ronan. We have actually met in Tallinn, Estonia, when you were here in the spring grading class. So we had a lunch together.
Yes, great to meet you again.
Yeah, I was wondering, so you're proposing actually quite a lot of different things related to capturing the data from the environment, yes? So I wondered whether you have already thought about it or you already have some kind of like a comprehensive data model of all the different inputs you need and want from the different sources and some kind of like a description of this data, because you need semantics in order to start doing some kind of analysis and things like that, because otherwise you just collect a bunch of data and data without interpretation and the insights is actually useless. Yes.
Yeah, that's a really interesting and complex question, and it's something that local authorities in Ireland and I think all over are struggling with. As local authorities, as the people who provide the services on the ground, our local authority provides in excess of 1,100 services. We have to be mindful that while we collect an awful lot of data, we have to ensure that the data is of use to us. So at the moment, the model that we are working from is my unit within the local authority is the unit that, for example, the guys perhaps are going to do an intervention and they're going to close down a street and pedestrianize it. They'll come to me and they'll say, we want to get a baseline of data for before, and then we want to measure afterwards. So the data architecture that we're talking about is built on a requirement on a needs basis from within the local authority. So we have a lot of different data sets for parking, for air quality, for noise, and these are built up as they're requested and as they're required. But working with Boris and with the wider team, we're in talks with management here, and we're making the point that different sections coming to digital strategy and requesting sensors in the public realm for one particular thing or another. We want to get away from that, and we want to set up one IoT network for the organization that is also open to citizens, and start working with the citizens and with the business and with the local authorities to build our data architecture from the ground up. So it becomes obvious what data we're collecting, what we hold, and how the research community and the citizen science community can access that data. So that's we're very open to working with universities and with other cities to figure out the best way to do this, because I don't think it's been done yet.
Yeah, that's the reason why I'm asking, because not only the cities are struggling with this, but also our Estonian building registry, who's responsible for collecting and maintaining the data related to the built environment, like buildings and infrastructure and etc. They are struggling with data management and all these aspects. So, and we are working on one project for them to develop the data management framework for them.
Yeah, and well, within Dublin, it would be remiss of me not to mention Dublinked, which is the open data portal for the 4 Dublin local authorities. So that was set up about 10 years ago. So data as an asset, as a city asset, is something that is well recognized within Dublin. And our starting place for building out that data architecture for the city would be looking at our practices to date. I would like to think that Dublinked, the Dublin open data portal, is an exemplar of good practice in collating, maintaining, opening and making data accessible to third parties as well as to industry and business and to local authorities.
I have a question.
Thank you. Yes, please.
One is a fundamental question is out of a curiosity, especially because I'm not an expert in this field. So I apologize if I say something blasphemous, but my point is there, like, most of the time the data like is often used to for environmental purposes. And my question is there a limit amount over which it has a bad impact on the environment, collecting so much data? I mean, is there an amount of data that once it's reached, it's not anymore environmentally friendly, let's say, it's not convenient for the environment, as a negative impact? Is there a limit, or we can collect as much as we can and the more the better? Also considering the storage and the management issues, and then the data itself can become garbage.
I think this is very much on a case-by-case basis. The environmental impact of data isn't generally at the collection point, unless the interventions that you're carrying out in order to collect the data have a massive carbon footprint. But our experience of collecting data and sensing in the public realm is that we're generally using low-cost sensors with open APIs to generate what we need. I could give an example of a project that we're running in the Smart Sandyford Business District, where we're doing an analysis of traffic that is generated from the loop system that's in the road. But we have 7 other data sets that we're pulling into that in order to work with the roads and traffic teams to figure out where and how the cycle network should be implemented in that business area. And one of the really exciting things that we're doing in the area of sensing there is, I mean, we're pulling in things like weather data, event data. So, I mean, we would be running pop concerts in an adjacent park, and obviously that has an effect on traffic as well. But one of the really exciting pieces that we're looking at is working with the business community, and 2 things: trying to encourage the business community to use bicycles to travel to and from work. And in doing that, we're hoping to give out in excess of 400 sensors for people. These are essentially bike lights, but the bike light also will give us information about the surface of the road, about braking speeds, distances to other traffic. So the bike light has a whole load of sensors built in, and so that the gathering at that point doesn't have an environmental impact. But I do see that, and this is the conversation that we're having internally within the organization. If my team manage data on an ongoing basis for a business unit, if that business unit isn't making sense of it, or if their engineers aren't asking questions that the data can answer, then the data will be archived. We will not expend effort on gathering data and analyzing data that isn't of use either to our own internal business units or to the wider scientific or community. So that's the approach that we're taking, and we are mindful of the environmental impact, but to date it hasn't been a huge issue for us.
Okay, Bill has some question.
If we have still time, I was wondering, you mentioned the semantic of the data, and that probably relates to the semantic interoperability also of the data. I was wondering, are we now, like, is there a need to somehow to coordinate the semantic interoperability between the cities and even the countries? For example, in Finland, this is very much steered by the government authorities of the state level, at least regarding to the public data. But then, of course, there is other data also. So do you see, is there a need for these kind of activities, and does it relate to your problem?
Yes, absolutely. There's a need for this. We're very cognizant of the European Digital Act, the open data remit, insofar as a public body, if it's possible to make our data, if it doesn't have a privacy issue, then it should be open by default. But within the Irish context, we take our lead from the Central Statistics Office, and the Central Statistics Office in turn work with Eurostat. So we're very much plugged into the open data environment within Ireland. And in fact, we provide training within the organization around open data. So our organization, just like Fingal and Dublin City and South Dublin, we're on a journey to move the open data up the value scale. So at the very bottom of the value scale for open data, you have things like PDFs, and maybe further up you have an Excel spreadsheet. But at the very top, you have data that has open APIs and is actionable and interactive. So this very much forms part of our conversation around where we're going with data and open data, and we're doing our best to stay in step with the standards that are being developed through our Central Statistics Office and through Eurostat, because ultimately European data, it should be possible for us to interact with the same data models right across Europe.
Yeah, but you probably have heard that there are several initiatives. You mentioned this Data Act and the other things, but there is also this initiative called the Common European Data Space, and I think there is something related to the cities and the buildings as well. So, but I need to check it out. So, but the idea is the data model standardization for cities and buildings, so we can actually share comprehensive data across and over the countries and cities of Europe. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I just last thing I'd mention is the open data units of the local authorities. This is I sat on a business case to make to central government that we needed to invest in every local authority having common data practices.
I have one question, which is clearly reminded that this smart city is for people. And this citizen aspect, and we are very strongly here on this sensor-based data collecting. And for example, we have Marketa Kyttö there online, who has been developing this people-produced data. So how do you have in your discussions this how citizens can be producers of data in this context?
Yes, I suppose I'll give an example of some of the projects we're already doing. We have an EU Horizon 2020 project called SCORE, which is about coastal resilience. And our way of getting, and Eamon and Aisling can also talk about the Balbriggan side of this, our way of getting the citizens involved, we generally take a STEM approach where we're trying to get high school students involved in science, technology, engineering, and maths, and our way of doing that is to get them actively involved in setting up the sensors and deploying the sensors. So, for example, in looking at coastal erosion through the SCORE project, we had our local schools go onto the beach, collect stones, and then those stones were sent off to the Atlantic Technical University in Sligo, where they were drilled, put sensors put in them, then the stones were put back on the beach, and in a few months' time, we'll send the schools out again, and they will find those stones, and they'll be able to see how the beach has moved. And this is like citizen engagement is at the heart of everything that we do within Smart Dublin and within digital strategy. So yeah, I mean, I would see that as very important.
Okay, thank you, Ronan. Yes, I think we take the last challenge now here, and it is about noise reduction, and it will be presented by Võru.
Hello.
Okay, hello,
again.
please go on.
So I share my screen. Wait a minute. Oh, I don't know if you can see my screen.
We can see it, yes.
So we have a challenge, noise reduction. So due to Russian invasion to Ukraine, NATO is strengthening its borders with Russia. Because of this, Estonian government has agreed to establish another military base near town Võru. So this is a military base which is expanded. It's about and Võru town is here. So as this military base will be inhabiting light soldiers from different NATO countries, the training areas, including firing ranges, will be expanded as well. This will result a higher level of noise and small shock waves due to the detonation of mortar shells and artillery rockets. The shock waves and noise from the explosions can be heard and felt by the inhabitants of Võru and Võru County. So we have here in Võru lake, and I think it acts like amplifier the sound and shock waves. So we need to deliver.
We can't see your slide number 2. If you put your slide number 2 there now visible, we see the slide number 1.
You do not see slide number 2? No?
We see number 1.
Okay, sorry.
If you activate the slide number 2.
No. So you can see slide number 2.
Yes,
sorry,
mistake. Yeah, very good. Yeah.
So now you can see here is our soon will be a military base, expanded one. And here is Võru town, 14 square kilometers. Now, so Võru town has Lake Tamula, and it acts like amplifier to the sound and shock waves. So the green area is 4-kilometer influence area. So we would like to develop a solution that can prevent noise and shock waves coming from the explosions.
Thank you, Diana.
You're welcome.
Did we also have Ülemiste here? At least the lady from there was before here, because she was the one who said that they have something kind of a noise issue also in their county.
Yes, I'm here.
Can you comment what's the problem there? Because I don't think you have a military.
We don't have this defense noise. We have transportation noise because we have main road running through whole municipality, Ülemiste County, and it gives us a problem of noise also. It's a different from Võru, a little bit.
Yes, thank you. Do we have researchers? You are working on this, so please, some comments.
This is the oldest and most difficult challenge to solve. I mean, for acousticians.
Okay, yeah.
Not in general, of course.
Yeah.
I think, of course, I think it's important to distinguish. Like I've heard the sentence, how to prevent noise and shock waves. There's no way to prevent. Like if there are shock waves, we have just to deal with that. And also and then at this point, it's important to understand if we want to act on the end user, so let's say buildings, and so solutions for buildings for the inhabitants. And in this case, something is definitely possible to do, but since the phenomena are so wide, I mean, you can't have a fix-all that reduces the pollution, noise pollution in large environments. You can have localized actions unless you act on the source. But we can't ask military people to put a silencer on, for instance. And so similarly for jet noises and aircrafts, acting on the source, there are scientists who work on that. And And so they have, let's say, new generations of aircrafts have special design to reduce sound pollution. We cannot, like in this project, act there. And so the type of solutions are localized, and it's also like, for instance, I've seen this Võru is actually a town surrounded by forest. And so the nature will have this noise will have an impact on the nature. And I see very hard to reduce that. So, but regarding the city itself, so the town and the inhabitants, okay, they deserve a better quality within their houses. And so there are solutions for that. And in special places, also like in a way, some special kind of parks. But it's kind of localized, the things that I see, maybe with a discussion and by looking at the maps and specific areas. Of course, I guess there is a margin to find something.
But is there nowadays, I understand this, we build those walls, that's very common thing. That's usually done next to the roads and so forth. That's one solution. The other, I understand you can do something with the buildings themselves.
Yes.
Is there any other options, the third options?
The third option.
Yeah. Is there any?
For example, related to the water element, because that was mentioned, there is the sea there, and that of course makes it quite a bit different, because
because it reflects completely.
Is there some solutions which could be related to the sea, to the water element?
The point is that the surface is so wide.
Okay.
If it was like a small lake, okay, we could find some sort of barrier and so on. And so, of course, there are things to think about, specific solutions, but it's not something that you can promptly find on the market. And so we have to think a little bit over. I think it's a difficult challenge.
Okay.
So, but I hope you think about it.
Because then this is a real research question then.
Because, this is a real research question. Probably doesn't fit so well in the 12-month frame time for development of the solution. Unless we want to act on buildings, and so on people who live in buildings. This is definitely doable. The first thing to act upon are the windows, because these are the thinnest parts and noise can be easily transmitted. Walls, especially in Estonia, are well isolated thermally and acoustically, but the weak points for sound transmissions are windows. So we can act on there. We have also had some projects previously, so developed already some solutions. And then, of course, there are acoustic absorbers. And the barriers that you mentioned can be further developed in order to be less invasive in a way, also visually, and these kind of things. So we have to, I think, face it humbly. You cannot promise that, okay, problem is going to be fixed in the whole Võru area. I mean, I'm honest, according to my knowledge anyway. Be someone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Do people online have some comments on this?
And also, I think this was the one challenge that only had 2 Estonian counties in.
No foreign.
So if there is some foreign cities also who really has the noise issue, an important one, and could be interested to find the solution long term, as I understand it can be mostly on building level, maybe in longer term, also something else. So then let me know, please.
Okay, thank you. So now we have heard all these challenges, and there are some messages to each group. So, for example, from the drinking water, we didn't exactly find researchers for that. For the first one, you will contact it. And then for the bathing water, we need some Estonian cities there to be involved. And the same issue is with this community inclusive brownfield, which was presented by Ülemiste. There was no Estonian city, so that's also something to be solved before getting forward. And then a long discussion about this data data platforms for cities, and I think that's really an issue in many cities. So, but there are so many different directions we have to sort, in a way, decide where to go with this proposal. And then the last one is where we need some foreign city to partner in that. So that is shortly to conclude what we have heard here and found here. I thank you all very much of joining this, and maybe some of you meet also in the afternoon.
And yes, the ones online, then 12:30 we will start back in the main zone. See you then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, please.
Bye.
I just wanted to confirm the next steps. So now the researchers only can upload their proposals, and then in December we can assemble like a group together with the city, and then start making the final proposal.
No, meaning like if you're asking about companies, then companies can join the researchers already now. You are not prohibited in any way. So try to find the respective researchers from Talte and already form the teams and make the joint proposal. That's very welcome. You are very welcome to talk to cities already now. That's not prohibited in any way, but it's not a must to get the confirmation from them yet.
All right, okay, but then the proposal is submitted by researchers themselves.
Yes, by the team of research, yes, not by the cities, yeah.
All right, no, cool, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, see you in the main room then at 12:30. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.